Man, I just have so much to do right now. I've been working on this for a while. Maybe I should just take a break. I'll take a few minutes to look at social media and then I'll get right back to work. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Man. Oh my gosh, it's been 2 hours and I'm still scrolling. I have to get myself together. I've wasted way too much time now. I might as well finish this later.
In today's video, we're going to talk about overcoming mental paralysis. Now, mental paralysis usually occurs when you're having like sensory overload or information overload. Sometimes you can get in these places where you find yourself scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, and then you recognize like, oh wow, like so much time has passed by. Or you could be in the middle of a task and get very distracted, and next thing you know, your thoughts are kind of going all over the place. It's when you know you have a bunch of things to do, but you don't have the energy to do them, and so you kind of feel like you're in this stuck place. Now, I just want to preface this video by saying that I am not a doctor. Everything that I'm sharing is based on my own experience, and I just want to talk to you about how I work through this. I also want to say that anybody can experience mental paralysis. I experienced this at different times in my life. I've experienced it when I was working 9 to 5. I still experience it sometime now that I'm in full-time entrepreneurship, and I realize that it happens especially when I feel very overwhelmed. So there are times when I just feel very mentally overwhelmed and I've consumed too much and I just don't know what to do. Even today, as I was recording these videos, I woke up a little bit later than I usually do, and I had it on my to-do list to do this, but it just seemed like there was so much noise in the house and everybody was moving to and fro, and then I started scrolling through my emails, and it came to a point where I was ready to kind of give up on the day and just say I'll do, whatever I need to do tomorrow. But I had to kind of course correct myself to exit out of this place. So as we go through this video, we're going to talk about some proactive things that you can do and some reactive things. In the reactive stage, we're going to talk about what to do when you actually find yourself stuck in that mental paralysis phase. And during the proactive section, we're going to talk about some things that you can do to prevent it. And again, not a doctor, just walking you through how I work through this. So let's start with the reactive. So this is what you do if you find yourself currently in that place of mental paralysis. And the first thing that you want to do is, once you recognize that you're in the loop, take a break. When I find myself in this place where I'm scrolling and scrolling, or I'm working on a task and I get very distracted and I recognize it in my head, sometimes it's a little later than I should have recognized it, but once you recognize that, I want you to take a break and get up from where you are. Usually when we find ourselves in that mental paralysis, we acknowledge it, but then we say, oh, well, too much time has passed by, and you just kind of give up on the day. But by stopping what you're doing and changing your environment for a second, you kind of mentally reset anyway. For me, this looks like I put my phone down, I may go into the kitchen, or I may step out on the porch. If you're at your job, you can just close your laptop for a second, go to the bathroom. But that simple act of getting up and changing your environment automatically kind of resets your brain and it pulls you out of that loop. Now again, sometimes we find ourselves a little too into what we were doing before we recognize the loop, but it doesn't matter at what point that you do this. It's more important that you develop the habit of interrupting it and changing your environment. So again, this works no matter where you are. Just stop what you're doing, get up for a second, and change your environment. Go to the bathroom, go to the kitchen, go wherever you can to just get in a new place. Once you get in that place, I want you to just take 30 seconds and ask yourself some simple questions. The first thing that I ask myself is, did I eat? Now, believe it or not, I usually find myself in these places of mental paralysis when I'm hungry, and sometimes I'm replacing my desire for food with consuming content. I know it may be kind of hard to explain, but this is just my experience. And so usually if I eat, my brain is kind of reset. I have the nutrition that I need to kind of move forward and be productive. The next thing that I ask myself is, am I overstimulated? And usually the answer is yes. And then I ask myself, well, why am I consuming so much content? Or why am I feeling distracted? Some of those reasons can again be, I'm hungry and I need to fuel my body properly. Other things can be, I know I have something that's difficult coming up and I don't want to face it. So I may ask myself like, okay, how can I make this task easier, or why am I feeling so burdened by it? This little simple mental dialogue doesn't usually take me more than 2 to 3 minutes, but the practice of asking myself these questions helps me to refocus on the thing that I should have been working on anyway. So once you do those two things where you've changed your environment, you had your 2 to 3 minute mental check-in, once that break is kind of over, the next thing that I do is I identify at least one task that was on my list, if you've made one, that I can get accomplished in less than 20 minutes. Usually when I'm stuck in mental paralysis, I begin to beat myself up, and again, I try to say that the day is over, or I've wasted too much time, or I can do this tomorrow. But I found that I can actually regain my momentum and confidence simply by accomplishing at least one thing. It may not be a major task, but when I feel like I can check something off, or I've done something that's mildly productive, I then have more momentum for the rest of the day. Even as I was planning to record these videos today, I woke up a little later than usual. Everybody was making a bunch of noise in the house. When I started making the videos, more people started making even more noise. And so I was feeling very discouraged. So I found myself trying to comfort by scrolling on social media, and then the whole loop started again. And so I did this actual practice, and I said, you know what? If I can only create one video today that's going to take me less than 10 minutes to record, then I can at least have more confidence and more momentum throughout the day. Even if I do nothing else, I've accomplished at least one thing, and it's more than I would have gotten accomplished if I had kept entertaining those self-sabotaging thoughts. So by identifying at least one task that you can accomplish in less than 20 minutes, you're actually going to boost that dopamine that happens when you accomplish something, and then you can actually find yourself being even more productive throughout the day. No matter what time you're doing this, the day is not over, right? There's been times where I woke up on time and I've gotten everything that I needed to do done before 1 o'clock. And then there's times where the day didn't go as planned and I had to pivot and shift and maybe work through the nighttime. But the mindset of saying like the day isn't over and I still have time to do what I need to do is a simple mindset shift that can help you to gain some confidence after being stuck in that place of mental paralysis. So before we move into the proactive things that you can do to prevent this mental paralysis, let's recap the reactive things. So number one, once you recognize that you're in the loop, stop what you're doing and change your environment. This can look like going to the bathroom, if you're at work, or even getting up to go to the kitchen. Just simply change your environment. The next thing that you do is have a 2 to 3 minute mental check-in. Ask yourself, did I eat today? Am I feeling hungry? Why am I feeling overstimulated, or what am I trying to avoid? Answer those questions, and then after that break has kind of settled and you're feeling a little bit more back to reality, then go and identify at least one task that you can accomplish in less than 20 minutes and just set that timer and focus in on that thing. So let's move on to the proactive things. Now, I've developed a system over the years that has allowed me to prevent those kind of mental paralysis moments. And I find that usually the only time that I fall back into that state is when I fall off of that system. And so I'm just going to break down some of the simple things that I've implemented that have helped me to be proactive against those times. So the first thing that I do to avoid mental paralysis is I plan the night before. Now, planning the night before really eliminates a lot of that decision fatigue that can cause me to avoid some of the things that I know I have to do. So what I'll do is about an hour before I go to bed, I'll look over what I had done for the day, and then I'll say, okay, these are the 2 to 3 things that I need to do tomorrow. I usually focus on one high priority task, which is something that's going to be a little bit more time consuming. I like to start with those tasks first, and then I'll identify a lower priority task, which is something that'll take me less than 20 minutes. And then the third task, if I have one, is usually like a chore or like a personal task that I need to do for that day. But by doing it the night before, again, it's going to eliminate a lot of that decision fatigue that you'll experience throughout the day. Now, pro tip, if you want to go a step further than that, what I have really been doing that has been instrumental is actually planning out my week the week before. So instead of just waiting for the week to start or planning on Sunday, I'm actually starting to plan my week the Friday before my week begins. I find that on Fridays, I'm a lot more relaxed and I can have a clearer picture of what's going on, and I don't have to respond to my week as it's happening to me, but it gives me that more control and confidence knowing that I'm going into the week with a plan. And if you want to learn a little bit more about how I plan out my week and how I prioritize my tasks, you can click the link right here above, and I'll put it also in the description. So another thing that you can do to avoid this place of mental paralysis is you can dedicate a day for specific types of tasks. I find that I'm the most likely to go into that place of mental paralysis when I'm trying to do too many different styles of things on one given day. For example, if I spend the day editing and filming and checking emails and then marketing all in one day, it's going to overwhelm me. But I found that by chunking certain types of tasks together, it helps me to be more productive. So I'll give you just kind of a breakdown of how that looks for me. So on Monday to Tuesdays, I do my most time-consuming tasks. These are the things that I kind of dread doing throughout the week, but I find that in the beginning of the week, I have a lot more energy. On Wednesdays, I have like a mental reset day where I'm only doing those lighter tasks that take me less than 20 minutes. So sometimes that's when my to-do list is a little bit longer, but the tasks that I'm working on don't require as much mental energy. And I need that kind of break in the middle of the week because Monday and Tuesday have been super high focus on those kind of long, draining tasks. Thursdays are specifically dedicated for my catch-up days, so a lot of those tasks that I'm working on Monday and Tuesday, I may not get them all done, and so I don't want to kind of lose my momentum and my confidence throughout the week, so I dedicate Thursday specifically for catching up. Then on Friday is my planning day, my admin day, where I'm kind of restructuring, getting things in order, and this is what really sets me up for success on the following weeks. So you can customize your days for whatever your schedule looks like, but again, by grouping certain types of tasks on one specific day, you'll be able to really focus. We all know the story that multitasking is not effective, so if you do have multiple things that you need to do, at least try to group them together on a specific day so that you're in the mindset to continuously flow. The last thing that you can do to avoid mental paralysis is by preparing your environment. So there's nothing more distracting than working in a chaotic environment. So as much as you can by the end of your shift, if you're working a 9 to 5, just take 10 minutes to kind of reset your desk. If you're working from home, take 10 minutes to reset your working space. I know you may not be able to clean your entire house every single week because you may have different priorities, but at least keep the space where you're working as organized as possible. It doesn't have to be completely beautiful and aesthetically clean, but it needs to be functional for you to thrive. And it only takes 10 minutes just to reset it so you don't have to do a deep clean every single week. And another element of preparing your environment is working at an optimal time for you. I know we have a lot of videos that talk about morning and night routines and work with me videos, but ultimately you have to find what works for you. In previous seasons, I was thriving early mornings, 5 a.m., but now in this season, I'm finding that I'm a lot more productive in the evening. Everybody is asleep, it's quiet, I'm able to film, edit, market, and I'm actually flowing a lot more creatively. So do what works for you. There's no rules about when you have to get certain things done. You know your life better than anyone else, and so build an environment that you can thrive in. So I hope that these tips have been helpful for you. You can actually click the link in the description box and there will be a worksheet there that you can use to kind of plan out your week so that you can have more structure. And this wraps up the video. I will talk to you guys in the next one.